This is a good neighbor meeting for a rezoning application we received. This is a rezoning from C1B General Commercial District to C2 Highway Commercial District on approximately 1.68 acres. You can kind of see it with the two maps up there. The map to the north is a zoning map, and the map to the south is just an aerial which has property location. We do these good neighbor meetings before we go to Planning Commission to hopefully answer any questions that you might have before we get to the formal process. It's anticipated that this would go in front of the Planning Commission on November 5th. And then it goes through a series of public hearings in front of the City Council. It actually has to be considered by City Council for 3 readings in order for a rezoning to be approved. But again, we do these meetings before we even get to Planning Commission because hopefully avoid people that would come there. I've been there where have these meetings and they say, hey, I'm just here to figure out what's going on. So we try and jump ahead of that, hear any concerns. Hopefully that if there's any concerns that we could work out or answer any questions before we get to that meeting, then we're being an efficient use of everyone's time. So that's just a brief introduction I have. Applicants submit these all the time, usually throughout the year. And then we have a process that we go through. Mike, do you want to kind of talk about the need for the request? And I can pull up your site plan if you want.
Yeah, so this is a commercial area that obviously borders some multifamily, and we've looked at different things over time, and we feel that there's a additional need for some more housing, and think we have a nice product to put in there that would fit in to the area, and that's why we are requesting the change.
Let me pull up your concept here. And this might have some of our notes on it, but yeah. Assume you can see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so multifamily up front, singular road coming in off Madison, and then these would be exterior drives and then garage, enclosed garages in the area. Anytime you have a commercial, probably still remain commercial. Anytime you have commercial, even though it's residentially zoned, you do have a required landscape buffer adjacent to this residential property here to the south. So they've shown that as well as the trees throughout the site. And I'd say one nuance probably in the code is the C1B is, I would probably call it an antiquated zoning. We don't use it very much in the city. I assume it was to try and have a limited commercial type zoning. It allows for mixed use buildings where you can have commercial on the first floor and then residential above, but it just doesn't allow for straight residential. We did some changes in the zoning code recently where we allow townhouses to be in commercial zones, or townhouses and multifamily to be in commercial zones with certain design standards. And so that's the reason. I don't know. I presume that eventually probably the C1B zoning is probably going to go away in favor of the C2. Again, we just don't use it a lot and see it a lot. I'm not sure that I see a big purpose for it. So kind of with that, Anthony, I see you're on the call. I don't know if you were just here and just curious about it, which is cool, and I appreciate you showing up. Did you have any questions or comments or concerns that you wanted to express or share at this time?
Yeah, so I don't know how much of these types of details there are right now, but like I'm kind of on behalf of the Chinese Church of Iowa City, so like the right adjacent property there. One of the questions I did have at this point was, and I don't know if you have the answer, but as far as like when the work is being done, we currently have a lot of folks that are parking along the street on North Madison Avenue right now. So do you know if there'd be like equipment that'd be happen to be put there at that point, or is that too early to tell?
Well, there really shouldn't be much equipment on the street, but just as far as the access in and out, I don't know that that people would want to park there per se when they're working, but say on a Sunday or something like that, it really shouldn't be an issue.
Great. So what
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
When do you have folks come into your to the, is it on the weekends or is it during the weekday? When do you?
Yeah, most of the time it's on the weekends plus Friday evenings from usually about 6 to 10 p.m. So those are the times that generally there's quite a few folks parking in our parking lot.
But I would
and then kinda extending
anticipate
throughout the street.
usually what happens on these, so they'll where that street is, where it shows the connection to North Madison, they'll create a construction entrance, which will allow their access to the site, and then they'll begin construction. Sometimes contractors will park on the street. That's not uncommon, but I would expect them to be like any long-term parking. Certain rules about not, you can't just like park a trailer like on the street. It's got to be hooked up to a truck. So that means that, a contractor isn't just necessarily coming here all the time and just setting up and leaving it out there. So I would expect normally they would, if it's long-term storage, to be on the property. And if it's contractors that are just working during the day, they're most likely going to be gone at the end of the day and not there on the weekends. Mike, does that sound right?
Contractors don't like to work Friday evenings or Saturday or Sunday. So yes, everything you said was correct.
Okay. Are there any other like implications from like folks working on that area that like maybe an adjacent property should know about at this point? Or any
There's
actions that we
rules
might
where
have to take?
everything will be pretty much contained. Well, everything will be contained on the site. So, we'll set up stuff around and, perimeter around, and everything that'll be done will be done interior on the site.
Yeah, and Anthony, Mike's a local developer. So if there's any problems, like, sometimes it's not always, but sometimes construction can get messy. And I would think really if there's any issues that we wouldn't have a problem reaching out to this local group and saying, hey, we have a little bit of a problem here. Can we deal with it? And we've never really run into a big problem.
Gotcha.
But it is nice to have a contact for the property so I can reach out and I can send you my information too.
Yeah. Is this document kind of a public document that you could send or share, that I could share this with our like council and stuff, just to give them an idea of what's going to happen?
Do you mind? We have a few comments over to, like, you see the notes on here. We made a few minor comments to the engineer just to fix a couple of things, and I don't even think it's that much. But yes, once they make those little tweaks that we were looking for, I could send this right over to you if you don't mind.
Yeah, that would be great.
Perfect.
That way I can just give folks at the church like kind of better idea what's going up right next door.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah, it's a nice looking building, and we always look to be a good neighbor when we're working on projects.
Right. So I know you mentioned that November 5th was like the next step for you guys in terms of getting this approved. Do you know approximately when or the duration of the work, how long that might take?
The duration of the work is going to take approximately 9 months. I would anticipate that we're going to start this sometime possibly next summer, late spring, early summer, and then we'd be working to have it ready for spring of 26.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
I assume, Mike, you're just kind of coming through getting approvals now so you can kind of just set up everything for next construction season.
Correct. Correct. Do you have any other questions, Anthony?
Uh, I guess there's one other thing, and are you guys? You're just a developer, and so somebody else would be purchasing, or I guess multiple people would be purchasing this property because we have like an agreement with the uh, businesses on the other side of us about parking and stuff. I don't know if the parking lot on your space is going to be like 100% for those folks, or if we'll just have to work that out with whoever
Yeah,
moves in.
unfortunately, it just because of the number of spaces and everything you need, it would be just for this property.
Okay.
And Anthony, one thing I did not mention, we require these site plans here, the one that you talked, I'll send you a copy of. We require these to get approval from our planning commission and city council. And so, they're rezoning this and showing this plan. And so this is generally what they're gotta build because that's what gets approved. Now they could go in and say, hey, I changed my mind. I want to do something completely different and go back to the process. But generally what they're showing is what they plan to build.
Okay. It's good to know. And then we do have like probably been out there, but there's like a fence on the just on the border right there. Is that's not going to be in the way of anything? I'm not 100% sure how accurate that was placed, but
Let's see here.
I'm thinking they did their best to put it on the right side of the property, so it wasn't going to be in the way. But
I missed that. What was the question?
I guess the question is, we do have a fence on that west or west-east border there
Mhm.
between the church, and I just want to make sure that's
Yeah.
not in the way or whatnot. So
I think I see it right here.
Yeah, so I don't
Just looks
anticipate
like
that being a problem.
okay, great, yeah, and probably the questions I have right now is I'm just really trying to get an idea of what all this is going to happen, and I wasn't sure exactly what to expect from this meeting, so I just wanted to. Somebody told me to show up and make sure I start getting an idea, and so.
Yeah, that's cool, and I appreciate you attending. Yeah, I'd much rather you do this than kind of sit back and then, well, I don't know, these are exactly what these meetings are for, to come here and say, hey, I don't know what's going on. That's exactly why we have them. So
And I guess
appreciate it. Yeah.
If there are additional questions, who would be the person to primary contact for this?
Me, I'll send you an email, or actually, if you did you get mine? I have your email on here. I'll find your email and send you a quick email, Anthony, and that'll have all my information.
Okay.
So if you have questions throughout this process, I would just suggest emailing me.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
I can answer them.
Yep, I'm sure there may be a few more questions here and there once I bring back some stuff to some more intelligible folks. So
yeah,
I'm sure
totally expected. And I would just circulate everything through me and I can get the answers and get them back to you. And that's probably the easiest thing to do.
Okay. That sounds good. Then I guess you can use the same email to include whatever drawing and stuff that I can forward on to them as well. And then we can keep the dialogue open that way.
Sure.
I didn't have any other specific questions at this point, though. Is this all you guys had on your agenda here?
Yeah, so we kind of stack them. So we do one at 5 and then this one's at like 5:30. So
Gotcha.
it was just dedicated for this item.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Anthony, thanks for attending. I'll send you something. I'll gather some info and send you some information tomorrow. And then certainly as we go through this process, feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you so much for having this.
Cool.
Thank you,
Thanks
Anthony.
for attending. And then Mike and Kelly, appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
All right.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
You too.